Hi guys, it's the Vibe Queen. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, please do subscribe. My name is Omobolanle Valentina Adigun, but you can call me Omobola Val and you can call me the Vibe Queen. And yes, on this particular episode, I'm going to be doing a review of the Netflix movie Lisabi, as produced by Bimpe and Adedimeji Lateef. Now let's talk about Lisabi. Lisabi is a story that talks about the history of Egba land. And guys, first off, I like to mention that Yoruba filmmakers are doing us proud. Like, gone are the days where people would forfeit Yoruba movies because of the obvious mistakes and, some silly mistakes that we used to make then. But now it feels like Yoruba filmmakers have stepped up. Like, Nollywood is something you can be proud of now because of the movies, the quality of movies that are going to the cinema and Netflix and even on YouTube. And guys, one particular movie that I have enjoyed so far this year is going to be Lisabi. First off, I am not somebody that loves history. I get bored. Even while in school, like I used to just read historical, stories, maybe because I needed to and I needed to pass. But now I love the fact that, filmmakers have a way of, making history look so interesting, and then it will sink. You get to understand what the story is about. Now, although when, the advert of Lisabi came out, a lot of people were saying, well, it's looking similar to Jagun Jagun, it's looking similar to House of Gar, that why are they using the same faces and all of that? But guess what, guys? I mean, somebody said everybody has, like, people in mind when they want to do movies. Like, and if somebody is good for the job, why say because the person is a regular face on your screen, then you don't want to give the person, the job? And a lot of people I know would have been looking out for mistakes from these actors that were used, coming from the Twitter rant of, using faces, the same faces. But guess what? I'm proud to tell you guys that for those who were looking for the faults in this movie, like, trust me, you will be highly disappointed if you watch it, because they did not disappoint. Now, Lisabi is a story of the history of Egba land, how the Oyo popular giants or your empire, as we were told, we were made to know, from history, that Oyo town or your empire was really, really big, significant, and it felt like, a lot of oppression came from Oyo empire, because from the historical films that we've watched, House of Gar, Jagun Jagun, a lot about Oyo, has been repeatedly said. And in Lisabi, it feels like Oyo town Oyo empire were constantly oppressing, the Egba people. Go there, get their foods, get their women, and, just oppress them. And there actually was a very powerful ruler, the Ilari, who was working, in connection with the king of, Oyo empire, who would go to Egba land, on behalf of the king, collect the food, collect everything, but he was, misusing his power. Now, at the end of the day, there were two good friends, Lisabi in Egba land, and, his friend, and these two were one was lazy. Lisabi was someone who was a farmer and he was really hardworking. And somehow, a woman came to play. So there's this Abebi character from the Egba town who loved, Lisabi, who was, had eyes for Lisabi. And Lisabi, in turn, was not interested in women at that time, But his friend, his very good friend, his best friend, was actually interested in that Abebi. So Lisabi told his friend, a female friend who happens to be the friend to Abebi that, you know what, my friend likes Abebi, and the friend was like, but Abebi likes you, and he was like, you know, that's a good friend, and he found his way to link them up, you know, and then they were going to get married. Unfortunately, there was a time when the Ilari of Oyo, that powerful man who represents the king, when it comes to Egbaland to get food, there was a time when, you know, he came to Oyo, and while he was trying to get the savings, the food and stuff from the people of Egba, there's this palm wine, you know, seller who gave them palm wine, and then they also requested for all the money she's made. And yes, so the Oshokenu, actually, who happens to be Lisabi's friend, was actually at the palm wine store when this Oyo ruler, you know, was like, you know what, there's a lady behind the palm wine seller's back who was actually her daughter, and it was like, you know what, I want to take her. And the lady was so scared, and they dragged her, and this got Oshokenu angry, and Oshokenu just made like a remark on, why are you people abusing power, why are you people doing all of that? You know, the boys of the powerful ruler from Oyo Empire wanted to harm Oshokenu, but the ruler was like, you know what, not today. So, you know, the people of Oyo Empire, they were actually like abusing power. And when Oshokenu finally wanted to get married to her baby, like the ceremony was, you know, everything. But you know, after that situation, she went back home, and when she got home, she actually committed suicide. Now, Oshokenu, portrayed as a very lazy person, we saw another side of him, because he now went after, you know, the leader from Oyo, and you know, he started fighting with his men. He was able to get about 8 to 11 men down, and you know, he wasn't able to kill the main leader, but then he was actually stabbed, he was shot, and they left him there. So his friend Lisabi went back, you know, he was actually looking for him, and then he found him there and was trying to save him and all that. But I mean, Oshokenu died. Now, this was really painful to Lisabi, and it made him just get people together to say, you know what, can't we just try and get food for ourselves? Can't we just fight for ourselves? And he called the youths together, taught them how to farm. You know, he was always helping them to get food. They were getting food for themselves. And, you know, they were like, you know what, we're all going to work for at each other's farm. And then when is it your turn? Because you're the one that brought this good news to us. When is it your turn? So we can go to your own farm and help you. And it was like, it's not your time. And at a particular time, it was like, you know what, it is time. Then he called for them. But unfortunately, he didn't take them to a farm. He took them to a house of power where he introduced them to. Now, guys, that's a summary of the story. But let's talk about the review. I feel like this movie was directed by Niyaki Molayon. I feel like the team made so much sense, and I'm going to start from visuals. I feel like the visuals of this movie is just so beautiful. Now, rumor has it that this movie, you know, had a budget of about 200 million naira or more. That's huge. And trust me, when you watch the movie, you will not actually counter that fact or disbelieve that fact, because it's actually worth it. Because the visuals, the camera angles, I feel like the movie has a lot of positive aesthetics, from the way the camera movements were, you know, how they were moving from one face to another. And I feel like the first scene for me was so beautiful. The ruler, the Kabiesi of the Oyo Empire, was actually having a bath in blood. And I loved how they achieved that aesthetics. You know, it was just, the whole floor was filled. It was like a pool of blood, and it was, you know, bathing in it, and his people were hailing. I also think that, you know, apart from the visual aesthetics, the camera movement, the angles, which were so spectacular, another thing I loved in this particular movie is going to be the actors and their characterization. Although for me, some people stood out more than some people, but for me, there's some people who did not just go unnoticed. First off, I feel like Ibrahim Chatta is so underrated. That man is so good, and I am a huge fan. You know how acting is about dropping your personality and embodying a new character. I feel like this guy does it a lot. I love the fact that, you know, he had facial mannerisms, physical mannerisms, the way he distorted his face just to suit that character. It was so beautiful. In fact, a friend of mine were talking about, you know, how the movie is interesting, and because this movie has a part 2, which will be out in January. And my friend was like, now that they've killed, you know, Ibrahim Chatta's character, he just hopes that, you know, that's the part 2 is going to be as interesting, because Ibrahim Chatta brought a lot of interesting vibes to the movie. I feel like he was quite exceptional with his role. Like, if you don't understand that this is a movie, you almost be tempted to hate him in real life, because he embodied that wicked character. I also saw somebody who said, you know, we're not supposed to, from the movie and the story, we're not supposed to love the wicked characters, but because of how the wicked people acted, we were in love with them, honestly, and we just felt they should show up more in our faces on screen. Now, also, I feel like Odunlade Adekola is also another versatile actor. Like, I love the way he embodied the role of that king. Also, I loved I loved how Femi Adebayo played his character, even though like it was just like few scenes, but trust me, he delivered with energy. And of course, I mean, what would be a character analysis or actor delivery analysis without Lisabi himself? I mean, I feel like Adedimeji Lateef is a spectacular actor. He did perfectly well. Like, his energy, the way he acts, he just does it like this is real life. I loved his energy. I loved everything. I loved how he acted. I loved his zeal. I loved how he was into that character. Now, another person is going to be Mr. Macaroni. I loved the transition from the normal Mr. Macaroni. I saw that anger in him, and when he was fighting, I really loved his acting. Like, it was so beautiful. And then at the point where Abebi killed herself, I feel like we didn't get enough focus on Bimpe's facial expression, you know, our reaction. I know that we react to death differently, and I know that, you know, maybe there was not enough time, but yeah, I feel like we just went too quickly. We went off too quickly from our reaction. Yes, I saw Kweju Ogumola's reaction as a mother who lost a child. You know, our reaction was, it was obvious, but, you know, I feel like Bimpe was trying to register that particular reaction, and, you know, the scene just went off. But apart from that, it was really beautiful. I loved her delivery. I loved, you know, seeing her in another light entirely, and she delivered. I loved Itele's acting, and every other person that actually came on board. You know, I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. I feel like the acting was really beautiful. I loved it totally. And well, some other people who also acted here and there, it wasn't a bad performance for anybody at all. You know, at least almost everyone, you know, surpassed the average score. Now, let's talk about language. I loved the use of language. Because, you know, I am particular about details. You can't be telling us that a film is about Oyo Empire and Egba and you're speaking plain Yoruba. But these people were so attentive to details. I love the fact that when we were watching the Egba village, the Egba people, they were speaking Egba. Even people, you know, that I know in real life might not know how to speak Egba. I could sense that, yes, they were struggling, but, you know, I loved the infusion of the language. Egba people spoke Egba with Egba dialect, and then Oyo people spoke in Oyo dialect. I totally loved it. I know people's favorite, one of people's favorite lines or phrases is Kabiesi Ekpa Konsi. That was by Ibrahim Chatta. And yes, in terms of acting, I forgot to mention that, you know, the four powerful gods that listen. It was done by Ni Akimolayan, so I'm not surprised because he is known to do great stuff. The directing was beautiful. There were no unnecessary scenes. All scenes were clear, crisp, clean. Another thing I'm going to rate high is the sound. I feel like Adam Songbird, I have witnessed like his growth in the industry, at a time when he was just singing strictly like gospel songs, to seeing him. I once interviewed him on my show as a media presenter, and that was after he did like the scoring, the soundtrack for Jagun Jagun. Like, that voice, the sound. And they say the soundtrack aids the emotions in a movie and in the scenes. I feel like Adam Songbird and other singers, that were involved in the soundtrack did an amazing job. This person, I loved his voice in Jagun Jagun. I loved the buka on the streets, Mi Onigba, the one Mi Onigba, the soundtrack. And this one too, Lisabi, I loved it. I loved other sounds too, but that's the person. Once I heard his voice, I could just spot that this is my friend's voice. It was really beautiful. And trust me, really, I am struggling to pinpoint the negatives in that what's it called, in that movie. I feel like makeup is so was really beautiful too. Makeup, especially the SFX, like special effects makeup. Because for instance, I mentioned that the character of the Ilari of Oyo, which was played by Ibrahim Chatta, his head was cut off, right? And they showed us, even though, yes, I know there's AI now, and there's a friend of mine that was telling me that, it was quite obvious where the 4 powerful humans were appearing, that they were using AI, but I feel like it wasn't so obvious. And the part where they cut off the character of Ibrahim Chatta, I mean, the cutting of the head, of course, it was slightly artificial, but of course they will not shall cut his head true, so it's understandable. But trust me, I give it to them, because Lisabi had to hold the head of the Ilari of Oyo, and that person who drew the head, like who molded the head, I feel like that is just so exceptional. The makeup, the SFX, so exceptional, because he looked a lot like Ibrahim Chatta's head, with the weaving, the makeup on the face and everything. It was really so beautiful to watch. It wasn't boring, like, and it just makes us anticipate the part 2. Even though so many people have stated that they are so scared, hope it won't be boring, now that Ibrahim Chatta's character, which was so loved, has been killed and all of that. But I am so trusting, Adedimeji Lateef's delivery, Bimpe, and others who are still there. And people should not forget that the youths, I feel like the part 2 is going to bring out some other people more. People like Itele, the icon, people like Gabriel Afolayan, Jide Awobono, because Mobimpe, because these people are the youths of Egba land, and now that they are powerful, they will want to show off. So he's going to, I feel like, to me, it's going to be like a soldier go, soldier come. So I'm sure that there will be like a makeup for the characters that we've lost already in part 1. So I look forward to it, and trust me, I'm trying as much as possible to spot the areas where they can be better. But to me, I can't pinpoint any, honestly. I feel like, yeah, there's no perfect work, but this was really close to perfect. So yes, guys, if I'm going to rate Lisabi, I'm going to rate it a perfect 8.5 over 10. And that's because, while in school, my teachers will say, if it's not mathematics, you can't score 10 over 10. If not, like, I'll give it a perfect 10. So what do you think about Lisabi, the movie by Adedimeji Lateef? Have you watched it? What do you think? Do you agree with my own review? Well, for me, I would definitely strongly recommend it. I think you should watch it. I totally loved it, and I hope you will enjoy it. Thank you guys for watching this particular review episode with me. Remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you're new here. Ensure you like, drop comments, check my old videos. And yes, I mentioned earlier, I'm an actor, I'm a TV presenter, I'm an entrepreneur. You can find me on Instagram at omobolanle_, and on other platforms omobola_val. And yes, you can check my movies too, and maybe do a review. I'll proudly accept your criticism as long as it is constructive. So yes, my movie Bolanle Pepper Dem is going to be showing from the 1st of October. And I have some movies up, there's Ole Igboro, which was produced by, Investor Bobby. There's Akpoti Majemo, which was produced by Kausar Atadeni. There's Mami, which was screenplayed by me, which was produced by Henry Ogbona. There are so many beautiful movies up there featuring me. So guys, please check it out. All right, guys, stay safe. I love you. Till another episode when I decide to make a video and come up here. I love you. Mwah. Bye.